Chapter 1. Where Nightmares Come Alive. The storm arrived without warning. Thick black clouds swallowed the moon, and the last traces of daylight disappeared behind the towering pine trees surrounding Blackwood Manor. Ethan Carter tightened the strap of his camera bag as he climbed the cracked stone steps leading to the mansion's front entrance. The old building had stood abandoned for more than a century, surrounded by rumors of disappearances, ghost sightings, and strange screams that echoed through the forest after midnight. Ethan had spent years investigating haunted locations, exposing fake ghost stories and abandoned places that frightened ordinary people. Tonight, he intended to prove that Blackwood Manor was no different. He ignored the old shopkeeper's warning, pushed open the enormous wooden door, and stepped inside. The entrance hall was enormous, covered in dust and silence. Torn curtains swayed even though there was no wind. A massive chandelier hung from the ceiling, its broken crystals reflecting faint flashes of lightning through cracked windows. Portraits of unknown families lined the walls, their faded eyes seeming to follow Ethan as he walked deeper into the mansion. The air smelled of damp wood, mold, and something metallic that reminded him of old blood. Every footstep echoed through the empty halls, making the house feel far larger than it appeared from outside. Ethan raised his camera and captured several photographs. The bright flash briefly illuminated the darkness before everything returned to silence. Looking through the images, he noticed nothing unusual except layers of dust floating through the air. He smiled to himself. Another old building, another legend waiting to be disproved. Sudden bang echoed somewhere upstairs. Ethan froze. The sound came again, slow. Footsteps. 1, 2, 3. Someone or something was walking. Across the second floor, his heart beat faster, but curiosity defeated fear. He switched on his flashlight and slowly climbed the grand staircase. Each wooden step groaned beneath his weight. Cobwebs stretched across the carved railings while faded family photographs covered the walls leading upward. Every face in the pictures wore the same unsettling smile. At the top of the staircase, a long hallway disappeared into darkness. Dozens of antique mirrors hung on both walls, reflecting the narrow corridor from impossible angles. Ethan carefully walked forward, watching his own reflection multiply endlessly. Suddenly, he stopped. The reflection in the final mirror wasn't copying him. A tall figure stood behind him. Its body was completely black, shaped like a man made entirely of shadow. Two pale white eyes stared directly at Ethan, and beneath them stretched an impossibly wide smile. Ethan spun around instantly. The hallway was empty. His breathing became uneven. He looked back toward the mirrored nothing, only his own frightened reflection remained. It was just the light, he whispered. He continued walking, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger with every step. Somewhere deep inside the mansion came the sound of children laughing. The laughter echoed through the walls before suddenly changing into quiet sobbing. Ethan followed the sound until he reached an old bedroom whose door stood slightly open. Inside, everything was covered in dust except for a small wooden rocking chair that moved gently back and forth by itself. Creak, creak, creak. No. Wind entered the room. The chair simply continued rocking. Beside it rested an old porcelain doll wearing a faded blue dress. Its glass eyes stared toward the doorway. Ethan slowly raised his camera. Click. The flash filled the room. When he lowered the camera, the rocking chair had stopped moving. The doll was gone. A cold chill rushed through his body. He searched every corner of the room. Nothing. Then, a tiny voice whispered directly behind him. "You shouldn't take pictures here." Ethan turned sharply. "No." One stood there. The bedroom door slammed shut with tremendous force. The flashlight flickered wildly. Darkness swallowed the room. His breathing echoed loudly in the silence. Then the flashlight stabilized. Written across the dusty wall in long black letters were 6 terrifying words: "Where nightmares come." Alive, Ethan backed away slowly, his camera suddenly powered on by itself. A new photograph appeared. It showed him standing exactly where he was now, but he wasn't alone. Behind him stood dozens of shadow figures. Each one smiled, each one watched him, each one was moving closer. The room temperature dropped. Instantly, frost spread across the windows. The porcelain doll suddenly appeared again. This time, it was standing beside Ethan's feet, its head slowly tilted upward. Its cracked lips opened in a tiny voice. It whispered, "He's awake!" Before Ethan could react, every mirror throughout the mansion shattered at the same time. Glass exploded across the floors. A deafening scream echoed through the house. The lights from his flashlight died completely. For one endless second, absolute darkness surrounded him. Then two glowing white eyes opened only inches from his face, and a deep voice whispered through the darkness, "Welcome home." Chapter 2. The Hall of Living Shadows. Ethan stood frozen in absolute darkness. The two glowing white eyes hovered only inches from his face, shining like pale moons in the endless black. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet his body refused to move. His heartbeat thundered through the silent mansion until, without warning, the eyes slowly disappeared. The darkness remained for another few terrifying seconds before his flashlight flickered back to life. The beam revealed the empty bedroom exactly as it had been moments before. The rocking chair stood perfectly still. The porcelain doll had vanished again, and the words on the wall, "Where nightmares come alive," had disappeared as if they had never existed. Ethan tried convincing himself that exhaustion was playing tricks on his mind, but his trembling hands betrayed his confidence. He looked down at his camera. Another photograph had appeared without him pressing the shutter. It showed him standing inside the bedroom, yet something horrifying had changed. Every mirror in the picture reflected a different version of Ethan. One reflection smiled. Another cried. One appeared decades older. The final reflection had no face at all, only darkness staring back. Through the glass, a loud thud echoed. Somewhere below. Then another. Someone was climbing the staircase. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Ethan quietly opened the bedroom door and stepped into the hallway. The sound grew louder with every second. He aimed the flashlight toward the staircase. Nothing. Only darkness. The footsteps suddenly stopped. The silence felt even worse as Ethan slowly backed away. Every antique mirror lining the corridor began to fog over from the inside. One by one, ghostly handprints appeared against the glass as though invisible people were pressing from the other side. Long cracks spread across the mirrors, yet none of them shattered. Instead, dark liquid slowly dripped from the frames, pooling across the wooden floor like thick black ink. Then he heard whispering. Not one voice, hundreds. Some whispered his name. Others begged for help. Some laughed. The voices blended together until they became impossible to understand. Trying to escape the overwhelming sound, Ethan hurried down the hallway. At its end, he discovered a large pair of carved wooden doors that had not been there before. Strange symbols covered the ancient wood, glowing faintly beneath layers of dust. As he pushed the doors open, freezing air rushed past him. Beyond them lay an enormous circular chamber, unlike anything inside the mansion. Its walls stretched high into darkness, completely covered with mirrors of every size and shape. Some were cracked, others were black as obsidian. A few reflected scenes that did not belong inside the room at all. One mirror showed children playing beneath bright sunshine. Another displayed an empty hospital corridor. A third reflected an old cemetery beneath a blood-red moon. None reflected. Ethan, at the center of the chamber, stood a massive stone pedestal supporting an ancient grandfather clock. The clock had no numbers, only one sentence was carved around its face. When the last chime sounds, the door will open. Ethan slowly approached it. The pendulum moved. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Although no hands appeared on the clock face, he could feel time slipping away. Suddenly, every mirror lit up simultaneously. The reflections began moving. People inside the mirrors turned toward Ethan. Some looked terrified, others pounded desperately against the glass. Young woman screamed silently as shadowy hands dragged her backward into darkness. An elderly man reached toward Ethan, tears streaming down his face. A little boy repeatedly mouthed the same warning. "Don't look behind you, Ethan's." Breathing became uneven. He couldn't stop watching. Then every reflection froze. The chamber fell. Silent, a familiar voice echoed behind him. "You enjoy collecting memories." Ethan turned slowly, standing Beside the entrance was the tall shadow figure from the photograph. Unlike before, it was no longer hidden completely in darkness. It wore a long black coat stitched from moving shadows. Its glowing white eyes burned like cold fire. Its smile stretched impossibly wide across a pale face that looked almost human. "I've been waiting for you," Ethan forced himself to speak. "Who are you?" The creature bowed politely. "I am the Keeper of Nightmares." It gently raised one hand. Every mirror in the chamber rippled like water. Every fear, every regret, every forgotten soul. "They all live here." The Keeper smiled wider. "And tonight, you will join them without warning." Every mirror shattered at exactly the same moment. Instead of glass falling outward, dark figures stepped out, hundreds of them. Tall, silent, featureless. Each had glowing white eyes. Each wore Ethan's eye. The chamber filled with identical versions of him, standing perfectly still in endless rows. The real Ethan backed away in horror. "This isn't real." The Keeper laughed softly. "Reality ends where nightmares begin." Every copy slowly lifted its head. Every copy smiled. Then, in perfect unison, they whispered one terrifying sentence: "We've been waiting for you to remember." The ancient grandfather clock suddenly rang. Dong! The first chime echoed through the mansion. The Keeper looked toward the clock and smiled. Only 11 remain. Ethan realized with growing horror that the countdown had begun. The clock reached its final chime. Whatever waited behind the last door would finally awaken. Chapter 3. The Door of Forgotten Souls. The first chime of the ancient grandfather clock echoed through the hall of living shadows, vibrating through every wall of Blackwood Manor. Ethan stood frozen as the sound lingered in the air long after the bell had stopped ringing. Around him, hundreds of identical copies of himself remained perfectly still, each wearing the same unsettling smile. Their glowing white eyes never blinked. The Keeper of Nightmares watched from the center of the chamber, his shadow covered, face calm and patient, as though he had already witnessed this moment countless times before. "You still believe this house is haunted?" the Keeper said softly. Ethan tightened his grip on his camera. "Isn't it?" The Keeper smiled. "No." He slowly raised one hand. "The house isn't haunted. It is the prison." Before Ethan could ask another question, every shadow copy suddenly stepped forward at exactly the same time. One step, then another. The floor trembled beneath hundreds of synchronized footsteps. Ethan turned and ran. The endless mirror chamber stretched impossibly before him. Every doorway led into another corridor, lined with cracked portraits and shattered mirrors. The mansion itself seemed alive, rearranging its hallways each time he looked away. The whispers returned, louder than ever. "Remember, don't trust him. Find the red door." The final voice repeated itself again and again until it drowned out every other sound. "Find the red door." Ethan followed the voice through a narrow corridor covered in faded wallpaper stained by dark watermarks. Portraits hanging along the walls began changing as he passed. The painted faces slowly transformed into frightened strangers, desperately reaching toward him from inside their frames. One portrait suddenly caught his attention. It showed a little girl wearing a white dress. She looked familiar. Very familiar. Her eyes widened. "Ethan!" He stopped instantly. The painted child pressed both hands against the inside of the canvas. "You remember me?" His heartbeat quickened. "I know you." The girl nodded desperately. "My name is Lily." A flood of forgotten memories crashed into his mind. A small town, a sunny afternoon, a young girl laughing while chasing butterflies. His younger sister. The memory vanished almost immediately. Ethan stumbled backward. "No," he whispered. "I don't have a sister." "You did." Tears rolled down Lily's painted face. "The Keeper took me." The portrait suddenly cracked down the middle. Black shadows poured from the fracture like smoke. The Keeper's voice echoed throughout the hallway. "Some memories are better forgotten." The portrait exploded into darkness. Lily disappeared. The hallway shook violently. A deep rumbling echoed beneath the mansion. The second bell had not yet rung. But something enormous was waking below. Ethan continued. running until he finally reached an ancient crimson door hidden behind torn curtains. It was the only door in the entire mansion painted bright red. Strange silver symbols glowed across its surface. The whispers immediately stopped. Silence returned. Slowly, Ethan reached for the brass handle. The moment he touched it, every light inside the mansion went out. A freezing wind rushed through the corridors. Then the second chime echoed, dong. The mansion trembled. Cracks spread across the walls. The keeper appeared silently behind Ethan. "You opened it before." Ethan stared at him. "What are you talking about?" The keeper looked almost saddened. "This isn't your first visit." Confusion overwhelmed Ethan. "I've never been here. You've forgotten." The keeper gently placed his hand upon the red door. It began 20 years ago. The symbols covering the door suddenly glowed brighter. Images flooded Ethan's mind. He saw himself as a frightened 10-year-old boy standing inside the very same hallway. Beside him stood Lily. Both children held hands while exploring the abandoned mansion during a summer afternoon. They laughed. They played. Then, they found the red door. Young Ethan opened it. Darkness poured into the mansion. Shadow creatures escaped. Lily disappeared. Everyone blamed the forest. No one ever found her. The memories vanished. Ethan collapsed to his knees. I did this." The keeper nodded slowly. "You released us. And ever since. You've returned every few years, but each time I erased your memories." Ethan looked up in horror. "Why?" "Because guilt creates stronger nightmares." The third whisper echoed from behind the crimson door. Not one voice, thousands. Men, women, children, all crying for help. The door slowly began opening by itself. A blinding crimson light poured through the narrow gap. Cold air carrying thousands of whispers flooded the hallway. Dark hands reached through the opening. The keeper stepped backward. "They're waiting." Ethan looked inside. Beyond the door stretched an endless city swallowed by darkness. Broken buildings reached toward a blood-red sky. Millions of shadow figures wandered silently through deserted streets. Every one of them turned to face Ethan. At exactly the same moment, their glowing white eyes opened. The keeper smiled once more. "Welcome to where nightmares come alive." The third chime had not yet sounded, but Ethan finally understood the terrifying truth. The mansion was never the nightmare. It was only the gate. Chapter 4. The city beyond the door. The crimson light pouring through the ancient doorway swallowed Ethan completely. For a single heartbeat, he felt as though he were falling through endless darkness. Then, without warning, his feet touched solid ground. The cold stone beneath his boots was cracked and covered in ash. When he looked back, the red door had vanished. Blackwood Manor was gone. The keeper of nightmares stood only a few steps away, his long coat moving like living smoke in a wind that did not exist. Behind him, the doorway sealed itself, disappearing into thin air as if it had never been there. Ethan slowly turned toward the city stretching endlessly before him. Towering buildings leaned at impossible angles, their broken windows glowing with pale white light. Empty streets disappeared beneath thick black fog, while abandoned cars remained frozen exactly where they had been left decades earlier. Every traffic light showed red. Every clock mounted on the ruined buildings displayed the same time. 3:33 a.m. No birds sang, no wind blew, no sound existed except the distant whisper of thousands of unseen voices. "What is this place?" Ethan asked. The keeper smiled. "This is the place every nightmare comes from." Ethan stared at the silent city. "It looks abandoned." The keeper slowly shook his head. "It only looks empty." Deep siren echoed across the skyline. Immediately, every streetlight flickered on, one by one. Hundreds, thousands. The city awakened. Shadowy figures slowly emerged from the fog. They walked silently through the streets, each wearing ordinary clothes as though they had simply gone for an evening walk. Men in business suits, school children carrying backpacks, elderly couples, nurses, police officers, and construction workers wandered without speaking. None had visible faces. Their heads were smooth black shadows with only two glowing white eyes. They all stopped at exactly the same moment. Every head turned toward Ethan. The silence became unbearable. Then every shadow person resumed walking, as if he no longer existed. "They're not ghosts," the keeper said. "They're forgotten." Ethan frowned. Forgotten by who? "The living." The keeper led him deeper into the city until they reached an enormous public square. At its center stood a monument unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. It was a giant tree carved entirely from black stone, its twisted branches reaching into the crimson sky. Instead of leaves, thousands of glowing photographs hung from every branch, gently swaying in the still air. Each photograph contained a human face. Some smiled, some cried, some screamed silently. Ethan stepped closer. One picture caught his attention. It showed Lily. His younger sister smiled, softly from inside the photograph, pressing her tiny hand against the glass. "Ethan." Her voice was barely audible. "You remembered me." His eyes filled with tears. "I'm going to bring you home." The keeper quietly laughed. "You still believe she can?" "Leave." Ethan glared at him. "Why keep them here?" The keeper looked up toward the enormous tree. Someone must remember the forgotten. Without warning, every photograph on the tree began shaking violently. The entire city trembled. A loud cracking sound echoed beneath the streets. The keeper's smile faded. For the first time, he has awakened. The ground split open. Dark smoke erupted from the cracks. The shadow people immediately fell to their knees. Even the keeper stepped backward. From beneath the broken earth, an enormous hand emerged. It was larger than a house, made entirely of moving darkness. Long black fingers gripped the pavement before another hand appeared, followed by two burning crimson eyes opening beneath. The city itself, the earth shook violently. Buildings collapsed in the distance. The giant creature slowly rose from the abyss, its body stretched higher than the surrounding skyscrapers. Countless faces twisted across its chest, silently screaming as they disappeared into flowing shadows. Its voice rolled across the city like distant thunder. "Who remembers?" Every shadow person pointed toward Ethan. The creature's enormous eyes locked onto him. The keeper whispered urgently, "Don't answer." But Ethan couldn't move. The giant leaned closer. Its countless mouths spoke together. "You opened the door. You brought us back." Memories flooded Ethan's mind once again. He remembered the day he and Lily had entered Blackwood Manor as children. He remembered opening the crimson door. He remembered reaching for Lily's hand, but someone else had pulled her away. Not the keeper. Something much older. Something far more powerful. The creature before him. It had been waiting for 20 years, waiting for Ethan to remember. The keeper looked genuinely frightened. "I kept the gate closed. I imprisoned him. But your memories unlocked the seal." The giant shadow monster took another step. The city shook violently. Thousands of windows shattered. Simultaneously, the glowing photographs hanging from the black tree began falling like burning leaves. Each photograph that touched the ground transformed into a frightened human trapped between memory and nightmare. Chaos erupted throughout the square. People screamed. Shadow creatures crawled from beneath abandoned vehicles. The sky darkened until even the crimson glow disappeared. Only the monster's burning eyes remained visible. Ethan looked at Lily's fallen photograph lying beside his feet. She reached toward him. "Please, don't forget me again." At that moment, Ethan made a decision. If memories had opened the gate, then memories might also be the only thing powerful enough to close it. He turned toward the keeper. "Tell me how to stop him." For the first time since the nightmare began, the keeper nodded. "There is only one way." Before Ethan could ask what it was, the giant creature roared. The sound tore across the city. The black stone tree split down the middle, and somewhere beneath the collapsing streets, a fourth ancient bell began to ring. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Nightmare. The fourth bell echoed through the nightmare city like the roar of a dying world. Its deep metallic sound shook the streets beneath Ethan's feet, sending cracks racing across the broken pavement. Towering buildings leaned dangerously, their shattered windows raining glass onto the empty roads below. Above the city, the crimson sky darkened until it resembled an endless sea of blood. The gigantic shadow creature stood in the center of the collapsing square, its burning red eyes fixed on Ethan. Every breath it released became thick black fog that swallowed entire buildings. Around it, thousands of forgotten souls wandered aimlessly, trapped between memory and oblivion, unable to escape the nightmare that had become their eternal prison. Ethan's heart pounded as he looked toward the Keeper of Nightmares. The mysterious guardian no longer appeared calm. For the first time, genuine fear filled his glowing eyes. "You asked how to stop him," the Keeper whispered. "There is only one place left." "What place?" "The heart of the nightmare." The Keeper pointed toward the horizon. Far beyond the ruined city stood an enormous black castle rising from the mountains of darkness. Its jagged towers pierced the crimson clouds, while rivers of glowing red mist flowed from its walls like blood. Above the castle floated a massive eclipse, blocking every trace of light from the sky. Lightning danced around its towers, illuminating thousands of shadow creatures climbing across the stone walls like insects. "That's where he was born," the Keeper said, "and that's where he can die." Before Ethan could answer, the Shadow Titan let out another deafening roar. The sound rippled through the city, causing every trapped soul to stop walking. One by one, they turned toward the castle and began marching in perfect silence. "They're being called," Ethan whispered. "They always answer," the Keeper replied. "Every nightmare eventually returns home." The ground split apart beneath them. A bridge of black stone slowly rose from the abyss, stretching from the ruined city to the distant castle. Strange symbols burned across its surface, glowing brighter with every step. "The Shadow Army took. We have to move," the Keeper said. "There isn't much time." Ethan tightened the strap of his camera and followed. The bridge felt strangely alive beneath his feet. Every step echoed like a heartbeat, while distant whispers floated through the darkness below. Looking over the edge, Ethan saw countless faces trapped inside the endless void. Some cried for help. Others simply stared upward with empty eyes. Halfway across the bridge, the whispers suddenly became louder. "Ethan!" He froze. The voice belonged to Lily. He looked over the side. Far below, his younger sister stood upon a floating fragment of broken stone, reaching toward him. "Ethan, don't leave me again!" Without thinking, he stepped toward the edge. The Keeper grabbed his arm. "Don't!"
"It's Lily!"
"No." The Keeper's voice was sharp. "The nightmare knows your deepest regret. It wears the faces you trust." As if proving his words, Lily's smile slowly widened. Her eyes turned completely black. Her skin cracked apart like broken porcelain as long, shadowy fingers burst from her body. Hundreds of identical versions of Lily crawled from the darkness beneath the bridge, each whispering Ethan's name in a voice that sounded painfully real. The bridge trembled violently. The copies rushed toward him. Ethan raised his camera. The flash exploded across the bridge. Brilliant. White light swept through the darkness. Every false. Lily vanished instantly, dissolving into clouds of black ash. Only silence remained. The Keeper nodded. The camera doesn't capture nightmares. It reveals the truth. For the first time, Ethan realized the old camera had never been an ordinary tool. It was a weapon. The bridge ended. Before the enormous gates of the black, Owl. The entrance doors slowly opened by themselves. No guards waited. No chains blocked the path. Only darkness. Inside, endless corridors stretched beneath towering ceilings supported by black marble pillars. Every wall was covered with giant paintings depicting humanity's greatest fears: wars, disasters, monsters, loneliness, grief, and endless darkness. Some paintings moved like living memories, replaying terrifying moments over and over. At the center of the castle stood an enormous throne carved from polished obsidian. Above it floated a massive crystal heart. It pulsed with crimson light. Each heartbeat echoed throughout the castle. Boom, boom, boom. The Keeper looked upward. That's the heart of the nightmare. It created every fear. It feeds every nightmare, and it keeps him alive. Ethan stared at the glowing crystal. "So, we destroy it." The Keeper slowly shook his head. "It cannot be broken." "Then how do we stop it?" "It must remember." Confused, Ethan looked at him. "What do you mean?" The Keeper walked toward the throne. Ago, this place wasn't born from darkness. Was created from human fear, but fear alone couldn't sustain it. It needed something else. What? The Keeper closed his eyes. Forgotten hope. Suddenly, the castle shook. The giant shadow titan had arrived. Its enormous hand smashed through the outer wall, sending black stone flying across the throne room. The creature forced its colossal body inside, roaring with unimaginable fury. Its burning crimson eyes locked onto Ethan once. Again, you remember, the crystal heart beat faster. Cracks spread across its glowing surface. The keeper turned toward Ethan. If the heart remembers hope instead of fear, the nightmare will collapse. The titan lunged forward. The throne room exploded into chaos. The fifth bell began to ring, and Ethan realized the final battle had begun. Chapter 6. The End of Every Nightmare. The fifth bell echoed through the heart of the nightmare, shaking the castle so violently that cracks spread across the black marble floor. Above the obsidian throne, the enormous crimson crystal pulsed faster than ever, each heartbeat sending waves of red light through the endless halls. The shadow titan towered over Ethan, its countless screaming faces twisting across its body while rivers of darkness poured from its limbs. Every step it took shattered pillars and collapsed walls, as if the castle itself could no longer contain the ancient evil that had slept beneath it for centuries. Ethan tightened his grip on the old camera. The Keeper of Nightmares stood beside him, staring at the glowing crystal suspended above the throne. "Listen carefully," the Keeper said. "The heart remembers only what people feed it. Fear made it stronger, but hope can destroy it." Ethan looked toward the crystal. "Then why hasn't anyone stopped it before?" The Keeper lowered his head. "Because everyone who entered this place chose revenge instead of hope." The Titan roared again. Its burning crimson eyes locked onto Ethan. "You belong to me." A wave of darkness exploded from its body, throwing Ethan across the throne room. His camera slid across the cracked floor, stopping beneath the glowing crystal. Before Ethan could reach it, hundreds of shadow creatures crawled from the walls. They had no faces, only glowing eyes and mouths. Filled with endless darkness, they surrounded him. Every creature whispered in a different voice. His father's voice, his mother's voice, Lily's voice. "You failed us. You left us. You opened the door." Ethan covered his ears, but the whispers only became louder. The nightmare was attacking his memories. The Keeper fought the shadows with beams of pale light flowing from his hands. But more creatures continued crawling from the darkness. "We're running out of time," he shouted. The crystal above them suddenly changed. Instead of glowing red, images began appearing inside it. Ethan saw his childhood, his parents smiling. Around the dinner table, Lily laughing while chasing. Butterflies, his first camera, his happiest memories. Then the crystal twisted them into nightmares. His parents disappeared. Lily screamed for help. The house burned. Everything became darkness. The Titan laughed. Hope becomes fear. Ethan slowly stood. No. He looked at the old camera lying beneath the crystal. The Keeper's words echoed inside his mind. "The camera reveals the truth." He picked it up instead of pointing it at the monster. He pointed it at the heart of the nightmare. The Titan charged. The Keeper tried to stop it, but was thrown violently against the throne. The camera flashed. A blinding white light filled the castle. For the first time in centuries, the crystal reflected reality. Inside it appeared not fear, but love. Lily, smiling, his parents embracing him. The day before, everything went wrong. The heart began shaking. Violently, its crimson light faded. Golden light spread through every crack. The Titan stopped moving. It looked down at its own hands in confusion. "No," it whispered. "I remember." The countless screaming faces covering its body slowly transformed into peaceful human faces. One by one, they smiled, then disappeared. The shadow creatures dissolved into glowing dust. The castle began collapsing. The Keeper looked toward Ethan. "You did it, but we have to leave." The crystal shattered. Millions of tiny lights burst into the sky like stars returning. After an endless night, across the nightmare city, forgotten souls suddenly remembered their names. Families, friends, children. Laughter replaced screams. The black fog vanished. Buildings rebuilt themselves in streams of golden light. The crimson sky slowly turned blue. The nightmare was ending. The Keeper smiled. for the first time, without shadows covering his face. Ethan saw an ordinary man. "You were never the keeper?" Ethan whispered. The man nodded. "I was the first prisoner. And now, I'm finally free." His body dissolved into thousands of glowing particles carried away by the wind. The castle collapsed behind them. The nightmare city faded like a dream at sunrise. Ethan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, he was standing outside Blackwood Manor morning. Sunlight shone through the forest. Birds sang. The mansion looked abandoned once more. Police officers surrounded the area. One of them hurried toward Ethan. "Sir, we've been looking for you. You've been missing for 3 days." Ethan looked around in disbelief. Everything felt real. Too real. An ambulance waited nearby. As he walked away from the mansion, he noticed a little girl standing beneath an old oak tree. She smiled. It was Lily, alive. She waved happily before running toward 2 people waiting beside a car, their parents. Ethan smiled through tears somehow. History had changed. Years later, Ethan became a famous author, writing books about fear, hope, and the mysteries hidden inside forgotten places. People loved his stories because they felt unbelievably real. Only Ethan knew why. On quiet nights, he still kept the old camera locked inside a wooden box. It never took another photograph. Until one stormy midnight, a single flash lit up the room by itself. When Ethan opened the camera, one new photograph rested inside. It showed Blackwood Manor exactly as it had appeared. That first night, every window was dark, every door was closed, except one. The ancient crimson door stood open once again, and standing inside the doorway, someone smiled back at him. Some nightmares are defeated, others simply wait for someone new to remember them.